Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of the Reverend and Danley. I'm Lucas Pinkert. I'm the Reverend, and
you are Reverend.
I am. I'm an actual Reverend and
Reprobate,
actual pastor.
Which, if you don't know what that is, just Google it.
Yeah. We're two.
In this case, that I'm fun. I'm super
Yeah,
fun.
there you go. We're two best buds interviewing people we have no business talking to, and today on our show we have. We've had some incredible guests the last few weeks. Today we got the pleasure of talking to Jeremy Nunes, who has an Amazon special, Amazon comedy special, which is really funny. And one of the things that I love so much about what it is that Jeremy does is his comedy is some that you can watch with the entire family. So mom, dad, kiddos, grandma, everybody's going to think that it's funny. He hits on a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, if you want to check it out, go search his name, Jeremy Nunes, in Amazon Prime, or you can look up Who's With Me, the name of the special.
Yeah, and it's Nunes.
Yeah, S, not a Z, as he we talk about a little bit.
Yeah, so he talks to us about his career as a professional wrestler, how being tall has its advantages, and all of the
being a mayor,
the incredible
at his hometown, running as a joke and then becoming mayor. It was hilarious.
There's just so much stuff in this, so we really want to thank you guys for watching and Jeremy for coming on. We hope you guys enjoy the interview. Here we go.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Well, welcome back, all you fine Americans, to another episode of the Reverend and the Reprobate, which is...
Don't forget the Brits or the Swedes.
Well, you know, we had 3 listeners from Japan, which puts me right in the height demographic that I need to be in to where I can be average height for the show. But on today's episode, maybe not, because our special guest with us today, we are just two best buds doing interviews and talking to people that we have no business even conversing with.
Lucas Pinkert, Dan Gibson.
And today our special guest
He's the Reverend, I'm the fun one. And we got a really fun one on the line right now.
Jeremy Nunes, which is a guy that you exposed me to, in a manner of speaking.
Use a different word, please.
Okay. That you introduced me to the comedy of Jeremy Nunes because you said, hey, look, here's a guy that you can laugh with the people in your congregation. Yeah. And I was like, that can't be.
You're like, it doesn't happen.
No, there are this many funny Christian comedians. No, that's not true. There are a handful of them, but there just aren't a lot of people that we can laugh with together about stuff that's relevant and is going on. Jeremy's got a comedy special on Amazon Prime right now. You can find some of his...
Who's With Me?
Yeah, you can find some of his stuff on Apple Music. I listened to a couple of his specials there, but we'd like to welcome to the show the man, the myth, the 6'6" legend who can reach all the things on the top shelf at my house.
Yeah,
Jeremy Nunes. What's going on, man?
What's up, fellas?
Hey, Jeremy, do you ever play basketball?
I can tell you've watched the special.
Yeah, we definitely have.
Also, I'm 6 foot, so I can relate to that. I actually had this week after listening to the special, I was in Kroger, local grocery store. And I was walking around, and this little short girl was making one of those carts for someone to pick up their food. And I walked by, and she asked me to reach something from the top, and I was like, "Hey!" I think it was the first time it ever happened to me, but I did not think about it until after. But I should have asked her to pick up something from the bottom shelf, like from your special.
Well, I can confirm for Jeremy that when you say that you're 6'6" and people are like, "There's no way, you've got to be taller than that," that there have been times in my life where people are like, "Hey, how tall are you?" And I'm like 5'8" because I got a fresh pair of boots, and they're like, "No, you're definitely not 5'8. You've got to be like 5'6", 5'7".
Oh, so they go down.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. So, hey, man, first, thanks for coming on the show. And I'm really curious how you got into comedy and what your career path looks like, because we want to plug so many of the things that you're doing. But talk to us about your journey into comedy. How did you get your start, and what made you want to go this route?
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here. So the route started, I'm from a small town in the middle of Illinois. And as goes with small town families, typically the father passes on the family business to his son. And so in our town, my parents own a trailer park. And so they said, "Jeremy, why don't you take over the family business and operate this trailer park?" And I thought, I kind of want to do stand-up comedy where I can make slightly more money than if I operated a trailer park.
Right on. Well, I live in a trailer park. Well, right in front of it. We're in the house.
Close vicinity.
Yeah, we're in the house right in front of the trailer park, and so people think that we own the trailer park instead of that we rent the house. So we get random knocks on the door throughout the week. Hey, how much is it to rent one of these trailers? And we're like, here's our landlord's business card. Please leave us alone. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny. It works that way, and I don't want to be misunderstood. I certainly am not knocking people to live in trailer parks.
Oh, for sure. I'll knock some of them.
but so you can, of course, since you live near the trailer park, though, maybe you are the house that people are like, someday.
Yeah. Someday we'll move our stuff 40 feet.
We'll get into the big house.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what was your father's reaction when you said, I'm going comedy?
This is 100% true story. I said, Dad, I think I'm going to try to be a stand-up comedian. He goes, but you're not funny.
Okay, so that took a lot of bravery to overcome that with you're not funny from the most important man in your life, I'm assuming.
Right, and so I thought, well, if he's going to be that way, then I'm just going to tell jokes about him. And so, of course, you experienced that in the few about him. So how it all started, I did a little divine intervention story here for you. So most comedians, you have to get your start. You do the open mic circuit first, in front of unpaid audiences, not getting paid, and then eventually get good enough and people start to pay you.
Yeah, you got to get your tight 5, tight 10, tight 15, right?
Yep.
I'm thinking of any comedy words that I know.
There you go. And so the first show I did, I basically just did 5 minutes of Chris Farley stuff, just kind of like falling down. And then there were probably maybe 15, 20 people there watching, and no one laughed. They're just looking at me like, what an idiot this guy is. And I even heard one guy go, is this comedy? And to the point that there was just like one guy kind of in the front row who kind of politely nodded and laughed as if to encourage a terrible speaker. You know what I mean?
I do. Being a pastor, I know exactly what you mean.
I was going to say, every once in a while, the preacher gets to talk and you're like, yeah, I'll give him a nod here, but I hope he wraps this up soon.
Yeah, somebody give him an amen so the kid's not dying on stage.
Yeah, Pastor, we've got a table at Luby's and 10.
And so I thought, after that ended, I am never going to do that again. Never, ever. And I happened to be reading a book about how to become a stand-up comedian, and it described your first time on stage and even said, typically your first time, no one's going to laugh. But if just one person seems to enjoy it, you have reason to continue. And I thought, all right, I'm going to keep going then. And it took another year before I had the nerve to get back up there, but I did. And then so the second time I was up there, I actually won the contest. I think it was $200, I want to say.
Come on, baby.
Never look back, baby.
That's awesome.
So I know from following you for a little bit, you're into comedy. At some point, you also were a wrestler. So how did that get in the mix?
Well, I've always been sort of a mark, as they say in the biz, a pro wrestling fan. And at the time, I was 6'6" and quite athletic. And so I kind of got into it, went to wrestling school, made matches. And then how that came to an end is I legit got knocked out in a match. And no one knew what to do. So it was supposed to be like the big finish where basically, as the referee's quote, knocked out, right?
Right.
So I'm the big baby face, the good guy.
Right.
And guy runs, and you're never supposed to hit a guy in the back of the head with a chair, but that's what happened. So I get nailed in the back of the head, and I just remember like this bright flash of light in my eyes.
Oh man!
And then hit the back of the head with a chair. So how are you supposed to hit somebody with a chair in the head?
Well, most places don't even allow it anymore because of the concussion situation.
That's a bunch of liberal nonsense, is what that is. Proceed.
but the key, you're supposed to sort of kind of go at an angle rather than straight down, so it's not a full-on impact. And most of the guys will even kind of get a hand up to brace the impact a little bit. But those are the sissies. You should take it straight on.
That's right. Yeah. Real men taking the. Never mind. I'm making the pastor cringe.
So there was a
over here
flash of
possible.
light when you got hit with the chair, and then what's the next thing that you remember?
Okay, then I remember being in the back in the locker room. That's when I remember the next. So what happened? I'm telling you based on the video evidence. Okay. So
is this video evidence out there? Like if our listeners wanted to see it, is there a
do
place
we just
where
Google poor Jeremy Nunes?
Well, no, it's not. I've got it on videotape somewhere in a closet.
Perfect.
Yeah. And so what happens? What's supposed to happen is I get hit with the chair, and then another good guy beats up that bad guy. So he kind of comes in, makes the save. Then he beats up my opponent, wakes up the ref, and then I'm supposed to get up and crawl over for the pin, right? So instead what happens, all that goes on, and then the time comes for me to crawl over and make the pin, and I'm just laying there. I'm looking like Nate Robinson after the fight, you know.
Yikes.
So then what happens is the other good guy, you can see kind of like a panicked look on his face, and he's kind of toe kicking me like I'm a dead body, trying to see if I'm okay, you know, right? He just kind of little poking me with his foot, and then so he figures out, oh, this isn't it. So he just kind of shrugs and drags me on top of the guy. I win for the pin, and then of course after you win, you're supposed to stand up and celebrate. I'm still just there. Still, and eventually, I don't know, I think the ref gave me some smelling salts or something, and I came to, but I don't actually remember him taking my shoes off.
Yeah,
wow.
The ref was like, "Hey, get up! You're bumming everybody out."
Yeah, Danley recently got to try smelling salts for the first time. Yep. We did it on air, and that is a wicked experience, man.
Yeah, and Kyle just pretended.
Yeah, those things are absolutely horrible.
So did you do wrestling and comedy consecutively at the same time, or did you because you mentioned starting comedy and then not having a great start and taking a year? Were you doing this at the same time, or was it I'll try comedy, okay, I'll do wrestling?
No, wrestling was first, and then
okay, so wrestling then comedy.
So
right.
Did your dad think that you had a legit shot as a wrestler?
Oh, for sure. And I truly did. I don't know how big of a fans you are of wrestling, but there was a Japanese company by the name of Michinoku Pro, which is sort of like not the WWE of Japan, but sort of like the next step down.
Right.
And they had signed me up, everything ready to bring me over on a full-time contract. They told me to start learning how to do speaking Japanese, and all I remember is "moshi moshi." That's how you answer the phone.
Yeah,
but that's all I know. But so what happened was sort of our contact between the two. He had a big fallout with our organization, and I don't even know what happened with it. But then he told the Michinoku Pro folks, "Do not hire anyone from our company. They're a bunch of no good, you know what." And so then that sort of ended it. And then I got dropped on my head shortly thereafter, and I was okay. But if you wrestle scared, you just can't do it as well, you know.
Yeah. So wrestling then comedy. Mm-hmm. Yep. Have you thought about going back to wrestling and incorporating some of the comedy?
You want him to do a comedic wrestling circuit?
Yeah, I've got a couple ideas. I got a couple ideas I want to throw your way for some names of some moves.
I want distance.
The first one is the comic punch, which comes in threes.
That, you know what? That is clever. I thought you were going to go with the punchline, which is some sort of like clothesline fist conversion sort of thing.
No, but that would be good too. How about power bombing?
I was going to say you got to do something with bombing. Yeah.
That's all I've really got. Maybe take a beating. I don't know. That one was weak.
You could call a
But-
heckler out from the audience to
There you go.
come and help.
Yeah. But
Well,
I
was gonna
think I
say-
think there's something there. You should explore.
You could call it the heckler when you just keep yelling so many insults that they tap out because they don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, there you go.
I think that's just called like being at home with my wife when I'm asked to clean anything.
Yep.
You're not doing it right. Don't put that there. What is it? I'm done. I tap out.
Yeah.
Here you go.
That doesn't work.
I'm gonna call 1-800. Please come here, the maid, and get out of this.
You know, it's funny you say that. I'm going to get sidetracked here, but so my wife regularly thinks, for whatever reason, that I'm always. She always thinks I have like a second lady somewhere, right? And then
Naturally.
yeah, and I say, do you really think I want a second person telling me I can't do something right?
Yeah, no, I tell my wife that too. It's like, I just don't have the energy.
No, there's no way.
Even if I wanted to, which I don't.
There absolutely isn't.
There's no way to have two ladies to look after, and that sounds like a nightmare to me.
It does.
I don't know how those guys do that, where they have like three families across the. Forget
Yeah,
that.
sister. No, and I think from what it sounds like, the three of our dads are pretty similar. So I don't need my dad, my wife, and some other woman telling me how much I do things wrong and what I need to fix. So professional wrestling and then comedy, and now you have a podcast that you're doing that's become pretty successful called Dynamite Drop In, where you are talking about the things that are going on in wrestling. Is this like something that started with the pandemic that you wanted to do? What was the inspiration for this podcast?
So I had a podcast originally that went 4 years with a guy who was an alderman when I was mayor, and we called it the Back Table Podcast, where we basically just made fun of what people in the town were complaining about, which what did not go over well in our town, of course. But so we did that for 4 years, and then it kind of ran its course, and then so I stalled for time, interviewed comedians for a little bit. And then from there, my fellow dry bar comedy comedian, Lee Hall, who is also a wrestling fan, he's like, I've been looking for somebody to do a wrestling podcast with. You're a wrestling fan. We're friends. Let's do this. And I said, I'll check with my wife.
Right. That's a good move right there.
Wise.
She was cool with it. And then so we've been doing that, I don't know, maybe just a handful of months, I would guess, something like that.
So who's been your favorite guest that you've had on?
Well, we don't have guests on the Dynamite
Okay.
Drop-In. Nope. But are you guys football fans at all?
Huge.
I'm not.
I am an enormous football fan.
Well, we have...
I mean, you're like a 5'7" football fan.
Okay. I told you I got new boots. I am 5'8".
We do have, when I did the Back Table podcast, we had John Fox, the old Bears coach, would pop in every
Really?
once.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's pretty
wait a
cool.
second. He's over here.
That's
Hey, guys,
awesome.
if you got some time, I'll do it right now.
Man, that's
Bear down.
Bear down.
that was, dude. That guy was absolutely incredible. His coaching career, and then just the demise of his coaching career as it just petered out.
Yeah, how long was he the coach? Was this during the Bears sketch?
No.
Would they have referenced him at all? This
No,
is after.
that was Ditka.
Okay.
Duck coach.
That
Yep.
coach. Yeah. That's what I know about the Bears. That's it. So I'm
is Norm
I'm
from
tapping,
Cheers
I'm
saying
tapping
the
out.
Bears?
Yeah.
That's absolutely awesome. So, what's been the biggest challenge of comedy since the pandemic started?
Well, the biggest in the beginning was, trying to get people to keep doing the shows,
Right.
because I'd be like, well, so let me take you back. So it first started early March. I had a show scheduled in Wisconsin. We had about a 250-seat ballroom that was sold out. And then I got there, and they kept telling me, well, the crowd seems to be getting smaller. A lot of people are calling, not want to come. And so I get there, went from 250 people to about 12. and then I remember asking people in the audience, I was like, are people not coming because of this Corona thing? Like, at that time, all we knew was there's a virus that has something to do with beer. That's all we knew.
Yeah.
And so it's very confusing. And then little by little, every show on my calendar canceled. Oh, we'll try again next year, and I'm a Cub fan, so I'm used to hearing we'll try again next year.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I don't want to keep doing. So then what became a challenge was, having money without doing shows. And then so what's now sort of been the trend is in starting around here December, company Christmas parties are your big money maker as a comedian. If you can work clean, you do a lot of these holiday parties. And so they're doing them through Zoom. So what's been odd is to try to perform in my basement to a laptop camera. And then, I tell a joke and then you wait like 3 seconds. Normally you get a reaction right away. You tell a joke and then I think, oh, they didn't like that one. And okay, they did. So that's been the tough part thus far.
How weird is that? Because I can't really relate to that, and with the bravery it takes to going on stage, I'm maybe working my way up to that. But with the podcasting, it is odd having people that are not in the room, because we have that to a small degree. That I'll make a joke or something, and I don't know if it's funny yet, because there's a delayed reaction that you have
between you and the guest.
Yeah. Whereas if they were in the room, it's much different. So you're actually doing stand-up remotely.
Essentially, yeah, that's what it is. So it's, for a lot of guys, it's really hard to get used to the no laugh part.
Yeah.
But for me, that's pretty common anyway.
I was going to say, Kellen Erskine talked a little bit about this. And he said that he was doing the same thing, and that he was having trouble with the people that had muted their microphones to try to be respectful because they didn't want their stuff going on. And so he would see people laughing, and it was really weirding him out because he would see somebody laugh, but he couldn't hear them laugh. And then it was the delayed response. So he said he would tell a joke, and then it would just look like, oh, there's a mute lady screaming at me from the other side of the computer. I don't know what's going on in her home right now.
Maybe you should just add a laugh track.
Like
when you deliver your punch,
guys doing that.
Yeah, deliver a punchline, hit the laugh track. I mean, I'm sure that would.
It's not like
would be a little disingenuous, but
they might not know.
Yeah, it might help the people across the. I don't know. I'm not going to solve this for you.
We could try.
I would love to.
We'll send you some laugh tracks. And then you can just find the ones that you feel like work the best or sound the best. So,
do you like that? Could you hear it?
Yeah, I heard it.
I appreciate that, and I'm willing to put that into each little joke of our episode from here on. So you've made it through the pandemic thus far. You were telling us off air that you've started a couple of new projects, one of which is writing a book about your time as mayor, which I want to get to in just a moment. But before we get into what the book is about, let's talk about how you ended up as mayor of your hometown as a joke.
So comedian, wrestler, mayor. Is that timeline accurate?
Well, I would say comedian, wrestler, civil servant. Let's properly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so as I say in the special, I ran for office as a joke.
Hilarious joke, Jeremy.
Yeah.
You got elected.
And got my name on the ballot as comedian Jeremy Nunes. And my campaign slogan was, put a real joker in office. And then I thought, who would even vote for that person? 80% of the town.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So did they just love the joke, or they all knew who you were and liked you?
I think they liked me about a I don't know, quarter or a third of the voter block is the kind of the old folks.
Mm-hmm.
And so my grandparents were part of that group. And so I think they looked at me as, oh, he's, chip off the old block. We got to get him in there. And and I believe at the time I was the only college educated person in the town, a very small town,
right?
Only college educated. And so they were like, he's been to college. we gotta put him in. And I'm like, I have a communications degree. I don't know what that has to do with running a town, but here we are.
He knows how to work a computer. He's got that emails.
You should do it. Did you? What were your big campaign promises?
So my legit campaign promises. One was we're going to get rid of the stray dogs. We're not going to worry about people hitting dogs with their cars anymore.
No dogs.
So that was one, and then little side story. We had at the time kind of a young lady who ran the city hall, sort of like the receptionist or secretary, was notoriously rude to everyone. So
perfect.
I said, I am going to improve the customer service experience at the village hall, is the words I used.
Wow.
What I was going to do is hold her accountable.
That's
but
very
she
stately.
got tied up in an adultery scandal, and she resigned before I took office. I didn't have to deal with it anyway.
So it fixed itself.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So you run as a joke.
She was telling two people they did it wrong.
That was instant laughter.
Yeah, that was good.
Man.
So you run as a joke. At some point, I'm putting myself in your shoes. At some point, you start seeing the scale tipping, right? Where you go, it looks like I might become mayor. Like what's your inner dialogue there? Where you go, okay, do I have to take this seriously now? Like, did you had zero expectation of becoming mayor as running for a joke?
Well, I halfway thought I could get elected because I ran against a guy who'd been mayor for about 24 years. And so I was getting the vibe that a lot of people were just ready for a change. See, at the time I was an alderman, okay? Mm-hmm. And I legit ran for alderman because as a comedian, I'd travel around town to town and I'd all over the country and see all these amazing small towns. And I think, why can't my town be like this? Mm-hmm. So I got on to help as an alderman. And then I got pushed to run for mayor. A lot of people were ready for a change. And in the board meetings, people were like, well, you ask great questions and you think clear. And the questions I asked were things like, how much will this cost? Or is there an alternate option? And people were like, whoa, this guy is thinking outside the box.
That's some big city thinking, buddy. So Lucas doesn't know what alderman is. Could you explain that to him?
Yeah, please.
I know, but I just want to make sure that he's got it.
So an alderman or a trustee, essentially the same thing, is the town board. So essentially an alderman represents one section of their town or city. Basically a small scale version of the Senate, I guess, is how you could call, or Congress, more like it, because Congress,
like
you have one
person.
Councilman. Something like that?
Same thing.
Okay, got it.
So you've got one person representing an area.
I
of
knew
the town.
that. Again, I knew that.
Right.
For the record.
Well done, you. You're definitely you are the college educated one at this table.
Yeah, I'm really smart.
All right, so you win the mayoral election. You actually do have a heart for improving the community.
April Ludgate resigns.
Yeah. What are you most proud of as the mayor of your hometown? What's the accomplishment that you're most proud of that you were able to do as mayor?
One of the big problems that our town had was we have our own water system. And so we got one guy who knows how to run the water system. One guy who had been running the water system for like 50 years and, could retire or, pass away at any point. So the big concern was if something happens to this guy, we don't have anyone available that can run the water system. And you actually have to have 3 years of experience running a water system before you can actually be licensed to be the head guy running it. So they didn't even have anyone like in the wings to take this over. And they just kept saying, well, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. So with my wife's grocery list, I rewrote the financing.
Okay.
And made room. We hired two guys to kind of understudy instead of just, putting all our chips in one guy again. If he leaves, we're stuck at ground zero. So having a backup plan and allowing the town to drink water would be my top goal and accomplishment.
That's pretty stellar. So if we, let's say, a community that needed a new mayor down here in Lake Dallas, or maybe Flint, Michigan, that does need some water system improvements,
or Los Angeles.
Yeah,
could benefit from
where can
new
people
leadership.
find you in order to try to lease you as a mayoral candidate for their community?
Well, you can check out the website, JeremyNunes.com. But if they check me out, most towns, the bylaws, you have to have lived in the town for 1 year. So you got to reach me early, because I also have to have time to talk my wife into moving.
or at least just start using their address, right? Because isn't that how people change the school systems? Is like, no, I'm going to use mom's address instead of this one so that I can get to that school.
There you go.
Yeah,
rent a P.O. box.
Yeah, you can become a lord in Scotland now if you just you own a little piece of foot 1 by 1 foot or something.
There's those Facebook advertisements that are going on for that. So how did the last couple of years I've seen you on Dry Bar Comedy, how did you get hooked up with them, and how has that changed your career trajectory?
Well, we got tied up with them through actually Lee Harden, because with Dry Bar, much like just hiring a comedian for a church event, they're hesitant to just hand the microphone to a stranger on their platform.
No doubt, yeah.
So I had been reaching out to them. My management had reached out to them, and they were interested. And then Lee Harden, who does the podcast with me, he was on there and kind of dropped an inside line for me. And the rest is history. It blew up my email list, nearly doubled, I think. Got quite a few more followers on Facebook. Twitter, need a little help, though. So at Jeremy Nunes. But
you got it. So at Jeremy Nunes on Twitter, we'll make sure that we get you tagged in there. So both of our followers will come and follow you. And hopefully we can each double.
Yeah, you make a joke in the special about your tens of followers. We can relate.
Yeah, when you were talking about your experience with Kate Upton, you said she was actually pretty cool in person. That's kind of nice to hear, because that poor gal went through the ringer a couple of years ago with somebody hacking into her cloud system and taking a bunch of pictures. And I know for a little while she was pretty reclusive. So in person she was cool. She was a really sweet gal, huh?
Yeah, and actually that was all going on right when we were filming that movie.
Really?
So she was super nice. I've been fortunate to kind of do some film with her. I had a really small bit part in the breakup, and so I kind of got to chat with Jennifer Aniston briefly. And so the Hollywood starlets have been friendly to me, but I was single at the time for both. Neither were interested in giving me their phone number.
Oh, buddy.
Well, you took your shot.
Yeah. I know what it's like
that.
to be rejected. I can have that. I can say that often. I got married this year, which it's weird. It feels like it was a while back. But my wife turned me down twice before she said yes to going out with me. And it was only after I was laid up with surgery and she felt like I was pathetic enough for her to date. She looked at me and she was like, well, I can't say no to him now. He's so pitiful. Mm-hmm. So I can empathize with you. So how many movies have you been in, and what's that experience like?
I've only had bit parts, and I haven't had like a significant role in anything. The best part is craft services, because you get to eat all the free food you want. So that's pretty cool. And most of the time, I don't know if you've heard, but most of the time they call it hurry up and wait, because they say, oh, hurry up, we're going to need you for this right now. Okay. And then you run to somewhere, and then they're like, okay, just wait right here. And then like 3 hours go by. So a most experienced talent will have like a book with them or something, because you just do a lot of sitting around, just waiting for stuff to happen, or throwing game at Hollywood starlets.
Yeah. Hey,
maybe both.
Yeah.
Maybe you read a book hitting on Hollywood starlets for dummies, and then take your shot.
Or maybe in a few months you read the book that's coming out, You Can't Write City Hall, by Jeremy Nunes, a comedic look at being a mayor. So talk to us a little bit about the book and some of the, maybe give us a little preview of some of the stories and things that are in there, and the point of view that you had as mayor of your small town.
Yeah, just pretend I'm Jennifer Aniston. Give me a little tease.
All right, well, Scoot on over here, girl. Listen up. So,
You know, I'm an author.
so I wrote the book about my 4 years as mayor. And so there's a lot of funny stories. My time as mayor, I consider myself the natural protagonist of the story. We actually have two antagonists in the story that I had to deal with, one from the inside and one someone in the town. And of course, we also mentioned, if you've probably heard, small town mayors have to deal with these small town complainers all the time. Mm-hmm. So I have all kinds of fantastic small town complaints. I'll give you one. So in the small towns, the mayor is the de facto anything that a big city position would normally have filled. So I was the de facto liquor commissioner, de facto chief of police, de facto animal control, health inspector, you name it. Okay. So we have this abandoned house, and I kept noticing there was a smell. There was just something wasn't right as I walked by this abandoned house once in a while. And the guy lived next door. He's like, "You got to do something." And I was like, "Well, what's going on?" He's like, "There's a family of skunks living down in there." And I was like, "Oh, well, I'll call animal control. The county can come address that." He's like, "No, you're animal control for the town. You need to go down there right now. Get them." And I was like, well, I'm not really trained in skunk removal. And he's like, "I know you got a gun. Why don't you go in there and shoot them all?"
Oh, my gosh. So small town mayor wears many hats.
He does.
Is what it sounds like.
So did you take your gun that this person knew that you had and go in there and shoot them all?
No, I said my gun was stolen, and I don't know what happened to it. So.
You know what? That is
good move.
So we're in Texas.
Very political answer.
And the amount of stolen or weaponry reported stolen and uncovered has skyrocketed since right around November the 10th. When things started looking like
there's a blue wave.
Yeah, when the blue wave hit, there were a lot of weapons that were reported stolen in the state of Texas that has been covered by a few people.
I don't know what happened to mine.
Yeah, Texas had 14 million guns and nearly 700,000 were reported stolen on November 11th. Like, well,
you know what?
Isn't that convenient?
I have to say, Texas always seems to be a step ahead of the curve. So bravo to the people of Texas for figuring that one out. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, we get a few things right, but the ones that we do, they're often the most redneck things that we can have happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we take great pride in our state. It's almost like a cult.
Yeah, it's weird. So a lot of other states have you get your regular history or your social studies and things like that. You have to take, even in university, you have to take Texas history if you're going to graduate from a Texas college.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
It's bizarre.
I could take a page out of that as a parent and say, before he has to take history of Jeremy Nunes.
Yeah, there you
go. He's got to write a report on the trailer park and what the business has looked like, how mom and dad did it, and how it
is a pretty interesting story. So, I mean, very unconventional path going into comedy and then wrestling and then mayor. Maybe a return to wrestling in the future. We'll see.
Yeah, is that something that you want to do? Is return to wrestling? And if so, how can we help facilitate?
Yeah, I just think that's a hilarious idea.
Well, I would what they call a one-off, where you come in for one match.
Yeah.
I would maybe welcome that. There's a local promotion here. When I started to get some steam behind the comedy career, they tried to bring me in for something, which I was down for, but my wife said no. And when your wife says no, you're just kind of stuck.
Yep.
You got to convince her or let it go.
Mm-hmm. I did. Yeah. So we were listening to your comedy special, and you do a bit about how your wife and you have difficulty picking a restaurant because it's essentially just you getting shot down over and over and over again until she says where she should have just said she wanted to go in the first place.
It's very relatable.
Yes.
There's a new restaurant that just popped up in Oklahoma called I don't know.
Great.
And it's part of the guy's got 3 restaurant chains. One's called I don't know.
I don't care.
One's called I don't care, and one's called You Pick. It's all like down home Southern food, and they're three different little areas in Oklahoma. He put one in each city.
There you go. That's three good things Oklahoma did.
Yeah, and then all three of the good things
more
Oklahoma
Texas
did.
pride over here.
Yep.
Well, hey, get into a little bit of current events. How was the Star of Bethlehem? Did you get to see that yesterday?
Did you see my Facebook?
Yeah, I saw it.
Well, so I took a picture of what I thought was the Star of Bethlehem because I was like, "This thing is gigantic.
It's amazing."
My wife's like, "I don't see anything," and I was like, "It's right there." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "It's right there." And she's like, "That's the moon."
That would have been an enormous star, though.
I guess we missed it. You had to look at sunset or something like that. At that time, we were trying to see Santa Claus with the kids, which also didn't go so well. Santa coughed right in his face, and it was
whoa,
maskless.
Yeah, we had a maskless Santa, and I was like, "That's kind of hot." He's like, "Well, the beard covers my face," and I was like, "All right, this sounds like a."
Did he also say he couldn't have a Nerf gun? Maybe it's the same guy. That was in Illinois too, wasn't it?
I don't remember where that was.
It was in Illinois.
Yeah,
I think it was in Chicago.
He definitely got fired though.
Yeah. Yep. Do you know what we're talking about?
No.
Oh man,
there was a
take it away.
Santa. There was a viral video. I think it was last week. Came out. There's a Santa in. I'm 95% sure it was Chicago. That there's this little boy that sat in his lap at a mall, asked for Nerf guns, and he said, no guns. Santa's not going to get you a gun. You got to tell maybe you can talk to your dad about that one, but no guns. And the kid immediately breaks down in tears because of a left-wing agenda which I'm not trying to get into that, but Santa with an agenda.
The Santa gets fired.
Yep.
The police chief buys the kid a Nerf gun, and so does like all of the internet.
Yeah.
Like the kid's stocked up on Nerf guns now. Yeah, for his entire life.
And they're now reported stolen.
Yes, that's exactly right. All the Nerf guns this kid got are reported stolen. So we've had a lot of the local Santas in our community. They're wearing the mask under the beard. In order to try to like keep the kids from freaking out. But we're also finding that there are a lot of little kids. So are your children in elementary school yet? Because I remember your son should be like around that age, right? He's like 5-ish.
Yeah, he's 6. Our little girl's 2. She's not yet.
Okay. So there are so many of like the kindergarten and first graders that we, as I'm, talking to parents in the church and talking with some of the schools in our community, they're saying that those kids are so paranoid and scared of the virus because of the way that they had to do the first year or like 18 months.
A significant portion of their lives.
Yeah, of their lives, but not just that, like the way that they've done school, that they won't go touch Santa. That they're like, hey, you can go do it. And they're like, no, Santa's dangerous. He might be giving me the coronavirus. And so the kids are talking to them from like 6 feet away and are just shouting their requests for Christmas.
They have the
Santa.
Cartman pole, the 6 foot.
Yeah, stay away from me, Mom. Yeah, that's what they're doing, which is that's completely bizarre. So, yeah, go ahead.
So what they had like sort of a plexiglass shield and 2 benches. So Santa was to sit on one bench and then the children sit on the other bench with the shield between. But my son kind of threw a stink about it. So Santa was like, oh, don't worry. You can come sit on my lap.
Your son sat on his lap right as Santa's COPD kicked in.
Yeah. And then, of course, he said, what do you want for Christmas? And he said, I want a remote control drone just like they use in those contests. And Santa said, if you're a good boy, you'll get it.
Oh,
how much money you think this house has, guy? What
Oh, Santa.
He just looked
I don't
at you
think he's seen those. It's a racing video. Is that what you're talking about? Is that what your son? Yeah, those are not cheap.
Nope. But he
super awesome,
he'd
really
seen
cool.
Your special, and he was like, "This guy's got that Amazon money."
Don't worry, Daddy's got it.
He's got his own special. Therefore, he gets 5 items from Jeff Bezos personally every month. That was what the contract was. So, what has been to you the most comedic part about Corona? Because I think right now we've done a lot of interviews with people that have these just really heartfelt and very like sad stories. We've had a couple of people that have talked about, in particular having relatives that have been in the hospital during this time that are doing some political activism and trying to get some legislation changed. What can we point to and say, you know what, the next time we interview one of these people, hey, we had Jeremy Nunes on, and this is what he says is the best part about the coronavirus, and to try and cheer him up. What can we do?
Well, so in Illinois, I'm not sure your Texas situation. I'm sure you're much more open than here, because Illinois,
we're awesome here.
Yeah. We're supposed to be full lockdown. You're not even allowed to go into someone else's house. So technically for Christmas, everyone is supposed to stay in their own house. So what we are doing is on December 25th, we are hosting a protest against atheism.
Nice.
That is brilliant.
But a lot of venues, have had to shut down altogether, so like the bars, the comedy clubs. So what we've had to do is break the law and basically kind of keep everything on the down low. And so what I would say is the benefit is you can break the law in secret, no money, don't tell anybody, and your life is amazing.
Agreed.
There you go.
I like that.
I like the protest against atheism. That's a lot like, what's the My Pillow guy? Mike Lindell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did for his church, because they couldn't have anybody in there. He made a bunch of masks with the My Pillow stuff and was doing massive mask giveaways on Sunday morning, but you had to stay 90 minutes for the sermon and the worship in order to get your free masks. So,
dude, Mike Lindell is that guy is going to, I think, come out of this as just one of the heroes of the coronavirus.
No joke.
Yeah, he was just on the Babylon Bee last week.
He was
right?
just on the Babylon Bee podcast. Yeah, he's hysterical, and his story was just one of the most bizarre. Like, he would just start telling a story. And he's like, well, after I was on my way to this guy's place, and I jumped out of this plane and snorted a line of crack and smoked my crack pipe, and then got to this house, and the guy was like, yeah, do you want to make a pillow? And I was like, sure, I think it's a great idea. I said, well, what about all this stuff that just happened? Do you want to talk about any of that? He's like, no, that was my other life.
We got to go back.
You just told me you punched a shark on your drive to a guy's house after you parachuted out of an airplane. Yeah, it was crazy times. Like, all right. That's just bizarre. Well, hey, Jeremy, we really appreciate you coming on with us. Can you tell our audience where they can find you? You said at Jeremy Nunes on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Where are you at? And then and where can we find some of your bits on YouTube and Amazon and those kind of things?
Okay, sure. So first I'll lead off by saying also regarding the holiday, they're encouraging you got to social distance from your own family. We are not going to do that. But I am going to keep 6 feet of space between me and my Uncle Carl always in a bathroom.
Excellent.
That's a smart move. Smart move.
That's just good logic, regardless of the pandemic.
Just because he's named Carl, that reminds me of Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah.
Carl's seem like it's decent to keep good distance from. So I endorse that.
So again, the website, JeremyNunes.com, my Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. You can search Jeremy Nunes Porch Comedy. So basically, if I was the first Jeremy Nunes to get there, it's under Jeremy Nunes. If not, it's under Front Porch Comedy. So it's on all that stuff. And my website, there's dry bar clips there. If you're not a dry bar subscriber, you can watch the clips right there. And you can join my email list if you want to know when the special comes out, the book. And then otherwise, the special's on Amazon, or if you don't want to throw your money to Amazon, it's on christiancinema.com or christianbook.com.
Nice.
And I think it's great for Christians to watch, as you guys saw, clean comedy with a strong spiritual message at the end.
Yeah. And by the way, was that shot in a church?
It was.
Yeah, it looked like a big church. It was way bigger than a club or something.
Yeah. So what happened there is, if we have time for a story?
Yeah,
sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to film the special, but the first step, you have to find a venue. And crew coming out of New York City that I'd worked with before. And there's the first step, you got to find a venue. I would try a church first because you won't have to pay to use the space typically. So I had a good relationship with several churches in the area that I'd performed at. As I mentioned before, they're afraid to just let a stranger take the mic. So these people all knew I could be trusted. I reached out to five that fit what we were looking for. 2 of those were interested, but one wasn't just interested. They wanted to do it. They were asking me to let them host it. And so I was like, well, the decision is made. So they were fantastic. That was Lincoln Christian Church, Lincoln, Illinois. And the people there were great, the ministry staff, and, it wouldn't happen without them.
Yeah, that is really cool to get a clean comic performing at a church that's now released on Amazon Prime.
That is pretty awesome. And not just that, like I said before, very seldom do churches have the opportunity to bring in somebody that is a clean comic, but is also universally funny for people of all ages, for both men and women, and for kids, that does have the ability to bridge the gap between like the singles that are in the audience and the moms and dads and the grandparents. And I think that you are able to do that beautifully. If you are ever in Texas on somebody else's dime, we would love to have you come in our church as a benevolent thing, and we will give you a write-off for that night. No, we absolutely loved your stuff. We shared it with several of the people in our congregation, and would just encourage anybody that's listening, if you want something to listen to with your family that's funny, and like you said, it's got a good spiritual message, it's very heartfelt, this Jeremy Nunes is the guy of anybody that I can think of. So we really appreciate what you're doing. Make sure that you check out all his stuff. Be looking forward to
JeremyNunes.com.
JeremyNunes.com.
You can't write City Hall,
which is coming out in May. Is that correct?
Yep. So we've got it lined up to come out right before Father's Day, or right before people go out on the beach and need a book or a gift for one reason or another. So,
or if you're hurrying up and waiting on set with Jennifer Aniston or Kate Hudson,
bingo.
Yeah. Hey, you actually met this guy whose book I'm reading, and you missed your chance. Sorry, ladies.
Well,
hey, are you booking anything for 2021 yet, or is all of that still just a big question mark right now?
I have a lot of 2021 lined up, but mainly because it's all the stuff that was scheduled for March or April or May of 2020. They just moved it to 2021. Awesome. So, and now I'm starting to get those emails of, we don't know, so we'll see what happens. But, for now, the special is going to give me a little income. People say they have a hard time finding it. If you just Google Jeremy Nunes, who's with me, it'll pop right up.
Yeah, I just searched your name.
Yeah, and we'll have the link to all of this stuff.
It is Nunes with an
notes.
S.
Yes.
Don't put a Z on the end.
No. Right. It's with an S because as as the people in my redneck town say, the S makes you less risky.
Yeah. There you go. There's a lot to unpack there.
There's a ton of risk with a Z.
Yeah.
Z just sends risk astronomically.
Well, Jeremy, it was great having you on. You're a super funny guy. We'd love to have you back sometime.
I would love to. You guys, you've been a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed chatting with you guys. This was great.
All right. Thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Jeremy Nunes. Stanley. Is it Nunes or Nunez?
I've been saying Nunez, but I think it's Nunes.
We're going to have to go back and listen to see how he does it.
We just talked to him and we didn't ask.
We did.
Hey,
well,
how do you pronounce your last name?
We spelled it
is
right,
there a
which
tilde
I think counts.
Or no tilde?
Your name is David Merrill. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
Don't bring that
up. Dude, what an incredible story going from professional wrestling to comedy. And
then mayor.
Unlike our interview with Ron Waterman, Jeremy liked your jokes.
Oh, yeah. He thought they were funny. And they were wrestling jokes.
They were. I like
I apparently have found my niche.
And what did you...
Insulting UFC fighters.
or former wrestlers.
And trying to convince comedians to go back to wrestling and for comedic value.
So
hilarious.
What was the first one that you said?
The comic
punch. Yeah, that comes in threes. Yeah,
that's the one I'm the most proud of.
That was very clever.
Yeah.
That was pretty clever. And
thank you, sir.
He really seemed to enjoy it. What an amazing story, just all the way across. Professional wrestler, the stuff he did as mayor.
His
make sure
dad
that you
not supporting him because he's
my gosh, not funny. Which All right. The self-deprecating humor that he uses in his stand-up is just phenomenal. Him talking about not being funny, him talking about all of the stuff that his dad says and did to them whenever they were growing up.
He gets revenge on him in the special. I won't say, but as mayor, you have some power to screw with your dad.
Yep. So
I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, and it won him an award.
Yep.
For most ethical. So that was just an absolute pleasure. He had some great suggestions for some guys that he worked with to bring on. His podcast, I think, is one of the
dynamite drop-in.
I think that's brilliant to do because, like you had so many things like The Walking Dead, and then right afterwards was The Talking Dead, where everybody just talked about it. You had the same thing with Breaking Bad and Sons of Anarchy and all of these little things.
We've thrown around the idea of a Forged in Fire after show.
An after show of Forged in Fire and an after show of The Mandalorian. We've talked about both of those.
We'll keep talking about it for a little while longer.
Yeah. You guys can expect both of those shows. We'll be doing season 1 of The Mandalorian in fall of 2024.
If you want us to do this is what we need you to do. We need you to support our show. Take a $5 bill, roll it up, just shove it in the USB
stick it right in the USB slot. Yeah, I think that would work.
You always say pop your chip out on the.
Yeah, if you got a USB-C, pop the chip out of your card and just stick it in there.
And then we'll do the show. We'll have that capital. We'll have your $5.
Which
is $5 more than we have now.
That's exactly which we will continue to spend poorly as we do the money that we have currently.
On cigars.
But man, it was such a blast to have Jeremy Nunes come on. It was a fun interview. He's a funny guy,
comic. If you're looking for something,
yeah, and really uplifting. He's got a really great Christian message that was all throughout. We talk a little bit about how he shot it in a church whenever we were off air, which is a really cool story that. They knew that they wanted to do a Dry Bar comedy special. It's coming to the end of 2019. Things are getting weird already. And this church was like, no, please come do it here. And gave the church some great promotion, gave a great audience for him. And it's an awesome comedy special. And like I said, of the comedians that we've got upcoming and some of the ones that we've interviewed already, there are some that we've given you the disclaimer, hey, this is a really funny person that's got really great ideas and is doing a lot within culture, but not safe for work, right? Victor Dweck was an incredible interview. He was a great guy. We've stayed in communication with him, has become a friend of ours.
He's the funniest guy in the world.
Yeah, he's hilarious, but everything that he does is not family friendly. There are some things that you can watch with your kids and other things that
I wouldn't necessarily toss it up on the projector at your church, but at home, kids are asleep, have at it. It's hilarious stuff.
Yeah, it's really funny and very honest. Jeremy Nunes,
In fact, you invited Jeremy Nunes to church.
I did. I would love to have him come to our church. And if you are a church that's looking for somebody like, hey, you know what? We want to do something for a family night. This guy's awesome. And one of the things he's doing right now is the Zoom meeting. So if you're if you're a corporation, you're a business leader, and you're trying to find a good thing that you can do to encourage your employees, check him out.
JeremyNunes.com or maybe Nunes. Either way, it's spelled Nunes.
Yeah, and then the Front Porch Comedy.
Yeah.
So check those things out. And thank you guys for watching another just action-packed show. These interviews have just been absolute blast. This is the whole reason we started this podcast, was to do this. So it was awesome. Thank you guys for watching The Reverend and the Reprobate, and we will see y'all next week.
Like, subscribe, leave some comments. Okay, bye.
This is Jeremy Nunes. And the reason you should not be listening to The Reverend and the Reprobate is you're listening to two guys from Texas who think it's cool to just walk around willy-nilly, have guns, quote, quote, stolen. Meanwhile, in Illinois, I am on lockdown, as I should be. No one should leave their house under any circumstances. If you are dying and having a heart attack or a stroke, you should not leave the house as to endanger our medical professionals. Meanwhile, these two knuckleheads think it's great to just go around and put on a podcast. I see them on the screen. They're less than 6 feet apart, and I am incredibly offended. Do not listen.